It's snowing.
What?
It's snowing.
Oh, well, I don't care.
Bum, 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 bum. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. You're on the line for 20 bucks. Hi everybody. It's Maggie, Mrs. Calabash. It was sunny this morning when we got up. It was a nice, coolish day, almost spring. And now I'm just looking out the window and it's snowing again. Yeah, I can't wait for spring. My cousin sent a photograph through of a garden in England and there's snowdrops out and some bluebells. Oh, I get very homesick when I see that. Not any other time, but when I see that and I think, oh, won't it be nice to have a bit of sun and warmth. Anyway, less of it. Today we're going to do Ka Gai. Excuse my pronunciation, which translated is Thai chicken soup with coconut milk and some shrimp spring rolls to go with it. I think it must be the cold weather. I'm looking for spicy food. I like spicy food always, but at the moment I'm wanting soups and spicy foods and egg rolls and spring rolls and the whole schnozzle. Now, yesterday we had a snowstorm, so we couldn't go out shopping. So we went shopping on Wednesday. Now, I couldn't buy some of the fresh ingredients because they wouldn't be fresh enough by today. And in one of the recipes, in the soup, we use lemongrass. Now, I always keep one of these in the fridge. It's lemongrass which has been taken out. I keep it in the fridge and I could just use it anytime I need it. I find it so much easier than processing a lemongrass. And the shoots, the bean shoots, wouldn't have lasted until today. Bean shoots need to be very, very fresh, not have a hint of brownness or clamminess around them. And so I've had to substitute. You can do this with shrimp rolls, you can do this with any of the recipes. You know, if you don't like an ingredient, well, leave it out, put something else in. It won't taste quite the same with this, but these are canned bamboo shoots. They're a little bit more crunchy than bean shoots, but we've got cabbage and they'll do just fine. So that's what we're substituting today. I'm going to put this back in the fridge. I don't like to leave it out. I just keep it in there when we need it. Now, let's go back to the stove and we'll start off with the chicken soup. So let's go back and get the soup on. In here, I've already cooked the noodles. I like very thin noodles. So we cook the noodles. And I've got, in here, you can see, I've got the lemongrass, the chicken, and the chilies. I didn't have any cooked chicken. So, look, can you see that? I chopped a chicken breast. And this is chicken stock. So we're just going to heat this up. This is a great recipe if you've had a chicken and you've got a little bit left over, you're fed up of eating chicken, you don't quite know what to do with it, you've got some meat on the carcass, bring it off and boil the bones up for some stock and you can make a nice soup out of it. So we've already put the lemongrass in, we've got the chicken stock and the chicken breast. I slice it very thinly into little pieces. Now when I'm buying a chicken breast, I always buy one with a bone in it and then I can make the chicken stock out of the bone. So get a long knife. Look, I've got one of these knives, and just gently go around the bone, take off the meat, slice it that way, that way, and into little bite-sized, tiny little pieces. Remember, we're doing Thai cooking, so everything is chopped very finely, and you've got to remember that originally in Thailand they'd only probably have 1 or 2 burners, so everything is chopped very finely. It's quick cooking. So we've got that on, and now we've got some ginger, coconut milk and fish sauce. This is fresh ginger which has been grated, which is going to go in. I love ginger. Let's put that in there. It's very, very good for you. Fresh ginger, coconut milk, and that gives a nice creamy. I always try and find a coconut milk that isn't thickened with agar-agar, just the coconut milk. I'm going to mop that up before it burns. So we've got the coconut milk in, and we need the fish sauce. This adds a little bit of saltiness to it. Now, if a lot of people are allergic to fish sauce, so you could get a vegetarian stir-fry sauce, and that will take the place of a fish sauce. So if you've got guests coming, just ask if they're allergic to a fish sauce. It's amazing how many people are. I'm just going to stir that around. I want everything in there. Let's have a look and see where we've got. We've got the fish sauce. You can add a little brown sugar to this. I'm going to leave it out today with being a diabetic. But if you feel that you need a little bit of sweetness, just add a little bit of brown sugar, and it brings out the other flavours as well, because as I've said before, sugar is a flavour enhancer. And I'm going to put, after all this has come up to the boil, I'm going to put a little lime juice in and some mushrooms. Sliced mushrooms. This has just been off the boil for a little bit. I'm going to taste it at this stage, just to see if I need to put any more fish sauce in, because I've got to remember that the flavour is going to come out as it's cooking. I think for me, that is going to need, I'm going to put the lime juice in, that will bring out some of the flavour, and I'm going to put the mushrooms in. But for me, I'm actually going to need some more fish sauce. There we are. So this is a thin soup, almost a clear soup, but it's thickened with the noodles. So let's just put a little more. To me, it needed quite a lot in, but that's my taste buds. Let me just see what that tastes like. No, I'm going to add, to me it's not quite flavoursome enough. I'm going to add a few more chilies. It depends, these are probably getting a little bit old. you can add and take away the spices on this, depending on your taste. If you feel that you need a little bit more spice, add a little bit more. And if you feel that, nah, I like things, I'm going to add a little salt. There we are. And if you feel that you like things on the mild side, we'll leave some of the spice out. We'll taste it once more. And I think that should be okay. Yes. Excuse me. That's good. That's good. It always has to make you cough. Let's move this over to here. Turn that one off so I don't start a fire. Shovel it over there. There we are. That will cook nicely while we're going to make the spring rolls. Now, I've already put the fat on, the oil at the back there for the spring rolls. We have a little canola oil in here. I'm using canola oil because I want to bring it up to a high heat. If you use an olive oil, then it has a very low temperature before it starts to smoke. And I want to get these nice, and I want it to be nice and hot. And so there's the recipe for the spring rolls. So we've got a stir fry here. We're going to fry the ingredients in a stir fry. That's why I want, you can see it's getting hot. So for the stir fry, we've got soy sauce. If this is a light soy sauce, fish sauce again. Again, if anybody's allergic, then use the vegetarian stir fry. Lime juice. And just a pinch of sugar. Not much. But if you leave it out, you can taste it. You can taste that it... Excuse me. So let's just stir that. Put it in there like that. Turn that down. There we are. And now we have all this. And this is what goes into the filling for the shrimp roll. We've got garlic. Let's put the garlic in. There's a trick to mincing garlic. Add, this is the ginger, so I'm going to put the garlic and the ginger in. When you press down to crush the garlic, put a little salt on it. It acts as an abrasive, and then you can cut it to a really, really fine. In fact, you can make a paste out of it by doing that. We put that top on there. Cayenne pepper. I've got a fair amount of cayenne pepper in that because I want it to be nice and spicy. We're just going to cook these up like this. Cabbage, shredded cabbage. I always keep, in winter, I keep a head of cabbage in because it's amazing. You can make soup out of it, you can make a vegetable out of it, you can make a stir fry, I make a salad. You know, it's very, yeah, there we are. It's very, very versatile. So we want that to cook. I'm turning it up just a little bit, like that. So how far have we got? We've got the cabbage in there. Now the bean sprouts, as I say, I've got the bamboo shoot, which will give a little bit more crunch. It won't be quite as fine as the bean sprouts, but they're good. Put all that in there. Some green onion. Now you see how finely slice the onion that way, and then that way, and into little pieces, because we want everything to cook very, very quickly. There we are. And now, lastly, the shrimp. These were frozen shrimp. I got them on sale this week, and they were cooked. So I saved $3 on a packet. And if you don't want to use frozen shrimp for this, you can use canned shrimp. It's just to add some filling. But again, they've got to be cut finely, because the spring rolls are very, very small that you're going to be dealing with. In fact, I'm looking at the shoots and thinking, they're a little bit large, but we'll manage. Let's get rid of that. Turn that up a little bit. Now we're going to taste, and I've used up all my tasting spoons. I want to see if there's enough flavour in there. We can always add a little bit more. This is hot. Yes. It's nice and gingery. It's not too overpowering. You can hear the hounds of the Baskervilles. Our dogs are ensconced upstairs, and every so often they get it into their heads that they're going to bark. There's nothing for them to bark at, but they just decide that they're going to bark. Now, you see we've got a lot of juice left over from the stir fry. We don't want to put that in the spring roll, so let's just strain it. Actually, that juice makes a nice dipping sauce for the spring rolls. That is Coco, the little one that you can hear. He's the smallest dog with the loudest voice. And he's the second in command of the command chain. The two of the big dogs are terrified of him. They won't walk by. If Coke is in the hall where they want to be, no, they're not going to walk by. So just press out some of this juice like that. You can have this prepared before if you've got, but look, I'm not going to waste that. If you've got guests coming, you can have this prepared before. I'm going to turn this over onto there and hope, keep your fingers crossed, that it doesn't get too hot. So we're going back to the butcher block. There we go. Now, you can see here, I've got, these are egg roll wraps, which are quite a little bit larger than a spring roll wrap. Now, a spring roll wrap is called it's a wonton wrapper, and you'll find them in the cooling department where the produce are. And we want to make sure that the edges are sealed. Sometimes with this I use, I make up a cornflour slurry, and this makes up, well, on these small ones, at least 12. I'll do 3 today, and the rest I'm going to do in time for supper. But just, oh, I might do 4 and then there's 2 each that we can eat. So you see, I'm putting them out, and this is the only way I can do it and get them wrapped up properly. Let's take that like that. I put them like a diamond, and it's the easiest way I find to roll up the spring rolls. Now we've got this mixture, and we don't want to put too much. Start about, you can either start at the top and roll down, or start at the bottom, whichever you feel the most comfortable doing, like that. So I cheat if I've got people coming, and actually sometimes I use the the egg roll wrappers if I've got children coming. They do cook up slightly differently, but the kids find that they're easier to deal with, not quite so fiddly. And I let people roll their own. It's fun. Then they can put in what they like. You can have, rather than mix all your ingredients together, just have them in little dishes, and then they take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I want to make sure there's some shrimp in there. So I'm starting from here. So corners in, I've overfilled this one a little bit, over there like that. Make sure that it's well and truly stuck together, because otherwise it will unravel like that. So make sure that it's like that. A corner in. I'm going to take that big piece out. A corner in, over, and then just roll it over like that. So you've got little spring rolls, but I find those are easier, but it is a slightly different dough, but I find them easier to coat with. There we are. I'm going to take that big one out like that, over, like that, roll that like that, and make sure that there's a little gap there. Make sure that it is sealed like that. To the corner, the corners to the center, seal it, poke it down, that over, and then just roll it over like so. So they make really, really like little hors d'oeuvre spring rolls. These make a bigger, I'll show you what one of these looks like. So let's just smooth around the edges again like that. These are man-sized ones. About a tablespoon or so in, like that. So you see, corner to corner, make sure it's pressed down, bring that one over, and then like that. And they're all pressed in like so. So let's take these over to the stove, and we'll deal with that later. I've got canola oil in here, fresh canola oil. I don't get rid of, now you won't be able to see that. What I do is I use the same canola oil for a few times. I do have a separate pan for cooking fish, as opposed to cooking something like spring rolls. I'm just going to put a little piece of bread in, like so, and I want to see if it's ready. There we are. And I have my, yes, it's risen to the top. So, what did I do with it? I got a little bit short of space and moved things around. Oh, here we are. This is what I use for frying. So I'm going to pull that out. We don't want that in there any longer. We want the fat to be nice and hot so that it starts to fry, but not too hot that it seals, that it fries the outside without cooking the inside. You can cook these in a wok, but I find to have a pan with deep sides is better for frying. And then if there's any accidents, I've got a safety space. I'm a little bit paranoid about fire and cooking. Apparently, when I was very, very small, like a few months old, I was in an air raid in Norwich, where I was born, and the house caught fire, and I still have nightmares about it. It's incredible. So we're just waiting for these to cook. Don't overload your pan. We could get a few more in here. And I like to make sure that I've got some kitchen paper so that I can drain them. If you're doing a lot and there's a lot of people waiting to eat, I usually have my toasty oven on warm. When I cooked a few, I put them in there so they all come to the table nice and hot. So we just turn them over. You do find, if you're making the egg roll size, that they will turn over on themselves, so you have to help them. Where there's the more of the filling, then they automatically turn in on themselves. So we don't want them too crispy, but we want to make sure that the inside is cooked. And you want to make sure that all the wrapping is cooked, because it can be a little bit raw if it's not cooked enough. Now, with the wonton wrappers, if you don't want to use them all up making little spring rolls, I put them in a muffin tin, put them down, just brush them with oil and bake them. And then they make a little, like a case, and you can put a savoury filling in there. You see? That's the size that I like to eat. I find these, I eat too many with that size because they're just bite size, and I find that, I've probably eaten half a dozen and not even realise I've eaten one. There we are. Lovely. We'll just move that off the heat so it doesn't keep heating. These need to drain for a few minutes because they're very, very hot. Look, there we are. Yay. So the big one is using an egg roll wrapper. The little ones are using the spring rolls. Let's get rid of these. Now, the soup. I've got my soup tureen, and I cooked the noodles just before we went on air. So we've got nice noodles, and They're very, very thin, so they only take a minute to cook. But once they're cooked, drain them and just rinse them in cold water. And then you rinse away all the starch and they don't stick. So you can either put some noodles into there and serve it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the noodles in there, the soup in there, and I'm going to put the noodles in the bowl just before I serve it. So we've got the spring rolls, the noodles, the soup tureen. Now we just need the soup. We're going to have one more taste of the soup just to make sure that it's the seasoning's correct. So let's have a look. Bring it forward. The chicken's in there. Ooh, lovely. Yes. It's got a lovely, creamy, chickeny flavour. So let's take that over to here. This is where I make a mess. There we are. Look, there's a little bit left over. We're not going to waste that. You can use any mushrooms for this. A mixture of mushroom is rather nice. Let's get rid of that. So, to serve, let's put that over there. A few noodles, you see they're still warm. A few noodles in the bottom. I like lots of noodles. This is one of my favourite soups. And I had my soup ladle. I'm going absolutely mad today. I can hear Derek saying, what's the difference between today and any other day? Ah, here we are. I'm organised, you see. I put it down there. So you want to make sure that you actually get some chicken and some mushrooms in there, as well as some nice juice. We've got some chopped green onions just for decoration. Now, let's have a look. Spring rolls. We'll put the big one in the centre. Big spring roll in the centre. And the little ones around the edge. Like that. And I kept some shrimp back. I'm going to put some shrimp over the edge of the soup and just an odd one in there like that. Some plum sauce to dip the spring rolls in, and I made some flowers out of the green onions, and this is so easy to do. You just slice down and put them in cold water. Just stand them in cold water, and it adds just a little bit of spring to the bowl. I'm going to rinse this out. I'm not going to waste that sauce from the stir fry. Because I can't eat the plum sauce with being diabetic. I don't want to have any more soy sauce, so I can dip my spring rolls into that. So thank you very much for watching. Hi Don, Terry, Francois, great Francois. Francois will soon be moving this way. And Joan. Joan said earlier that this was her favourite soup, so let's hope it lives up to expectations. And thank you everybody for watching, and we'll be with you again next week. Go to mrscalabashcook.com, like it, and ask a friend to like it. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again. Have a great weekend, keep safe, get you the last bit of skiing if you can. Okay guys, I'll see you again next Friday. Bye-bye. Thanks, Jabor.